So today is time for another Robert Munsch story. This is published by Annick Press from the Munchworks Grand Treasury, a story by Robert Munsch and Michael Kusugak, and pictures by Vlajana Krikora. This is A Promise is a Promise, one of my favorite Robert Munsch stories. On the very first nice day of spring, Alashua said, "I'm going to go fishing. I'm going to go fishing in the ocean. I'm going to go fishing in the cracks in the ice." Said her mother. "Don't go fishing on the sea ice. Under the sea ice live Qallupilluit. They grab children who aren't with their parents. Don't go fishing in the ocean. Go fish in a lake." "Right," said Alashua. "I promise to go fishing in the lake and not in the ocean. And a promise is a promise." So Alashua set out like she was going to go to the lake near her house. But when she got to the end of the street, she did not go to the lake. She walked down the long, snowy path that led to the ocean. At the edge of the ocean were large cracks where the tide broke and jumbled the ice. Alashua looked very carefully and did not see any Qallupilluit. She said, "On TV, I've seen Santa Claus, and fairy godmothers, and the Tooth Fairy, but never any Qallupilluit. I think my mother is wrong." But just in case her mother was right, Alashua stood beside the sea ice and yelled, "Qallupilluit have dirty noses!" Nothing happened. Alashua yelled, "Qallupilluit smell like a dead whale in the summer!" Nothing happened. Alashua walked right out onto the sea ice and yelled as loud as she could, "Qallupilluit, Qallupilluit can't catch me!" Nothing happened. The only thing Alashua heard was the sound of snow blowing over the ice. So Alashua got out her line and her hook. She walked over to a large crack in the ice and started to fish. Right away, a fish grabbed the hook, and Alashua pulled it up. She caught 6 fish in a row. Alashua yelled, "I am the best fisherman in the world!" And from behind her, something said, with a voice that sounded like snow blowing over the ice, "The best you may be, but the smartest you are not." Alashua turned around. There, between her and the shore, were the Qallupilluit. They looked at her and said, "Have you seen the child who said Qallupilluit have dirty noses?" "Oh, no, Qallupilluit. I have seen no such child. And besides, your noses are very pretty." "Have you seen the child who said we smell like a dead whale in the summertime?" "Oh, no, Qallupilluit. I have seen no such child. And besides, you smell very nice, just like flowers in the summer." "Have you seen the child who yelled, 'Qallupilluit, Qallupilluit can't catch me?'" "Oh, no, Qallupilluit. I have seen no such child. And besides, my mother says that you can catch whatever you want to." "Right," said the Qallupilluit. "We catch whatever we want to. And what we want to catch right now is you." One grabbed Alashua by her feet and dragged her down under the sea ice to where the Qallupilluit live. The sea water stung Alashua's face like fire. Alashua held her breath, and the Qallupilluit gathered around her and sang with voices that sounded like snow blowing over the ice. Human child, ours to have, ours to hold. Forget your mother, forget your father, ours to hold under the ice. Alashua let out her breath and yelled, My brothers and sisters! My brothers and sisters! I will bring them all to the sea ice! And for a moment nothing happened. And then the Qallupilluit threw Alashua up out of the sea ice, out of the sea into the cold wind of the ice, and said, A promise is a promise. Bring your brothers and sisters to the sea ice, and we will let you go. Alashua began to run up the long, snow-covered path that led to her home. As she ran, her clothes started to freeze. She ran more and more slowly until she fell to the ground. And that is where Alashua's father found her, almost at the back door, frozen to the snow. Alashua's father gave a great yell, picked up Alashua, and carried her inside. They tore off Alashua's icy clothes and put her into bed, and then her father and mother got under the covers and hugged Alashua until she got warm. After an hour, Alashua asked for some hot tea. She drank 10 cups of hot tea with lots of sugar and said, I went to the cracks in the sea ice. Said her family. Not so smart. I called the Qallupilluit nasty names. Said her family. Dumber still. I promised to take my brothers and sisters to the cracks in the sea ice. I promised to take them all to the Qallupilluit. Said her family. A promise is a promise. And then her mother and father made some tea, and they sat, and they drank it, and did not say anything for a long time. From far down the snow-covered path that led to the sea, the Qallupilluit began calling, A promise is a promise. A promise is a promise. A promise is a promise. Mother looked at her children and said, I have an idea. Do exactly as I say. When I start dancing, all of you follow Alashua to the cracks in the sea ice. And the children all whispered to each other, why would our mother dance? This is not a happy time. Alashua's mother went out the back door and yelled, Qallupilluit! Qallupilluit, come and talk with me. And they did come. Right up out of the cracks in the sea ice, up the long snow-covered path to the sea they came, and they stood by the back door. It was a most strange thing, for never before had Qallupilluit left the ocean. Mother and father cried and yelled and asked for their children back. But the Qallupilluit said, A promise is a promise. The mother and father begged and pleaded and asked for their children back. But the Qallupilluit said, A promise is a promise. Finally, Alashua's mother said, Qallupilluit, you have hearts like ice, but a promise is a promise. Come and join us while we say goodbye to our children. And everyone went inside. First, Mother gave her children some bread, and she said to the Qallupilluit, This is not for you. But the Qallupilluit said, We want some too. The mother gave the Qallupilluit some bread, and they liked it a lot. Then the mother gave each of her children a piece of candy, and she said to the Qallupilluit, "This is not for you." But the Qallupilluit said, "We want some too." The mother gave the Qallupilluit some candy, and they liked it a lot. And then their father started to dance. He said to the Qallupilluit, "This is not for you." The Qallupilluit said, "We have never danced. We want to dance. We want some too." And they all started to dance. First they danced slowly, and then they danced fast, and then they started to jump and yell and scream and dance a wild dance. The Qallupilluit liked the dancing so much they forgot about children. And finally the mother started to dance, and when the children saw their mother dancing, they crawled out the back door and ran down the long, snowy path that led to the sea. They came to the cracks in the sea ice, and Alashua whispered, "Qallupilluit, Qallupilluit, here we are." Nothing happened. And then all the children said, "Qallupilluit, Qallupilluit, here we are." Nothing happened. And then all the children yelled as loud as they could, "Qallupilluit, Qallupilluit, here we are." Nothing happened. And they all went back to the land and sat on a large rock by the beach. 2 minutes later, the Qallupilluit ran screaming down the path and jumped into their cracks in the ice. Alashua stood up on the rock and said, "A promise is what you are given, and a promise is what you got. I brought my brothers and sisters to the sea ice, but you were not here. A promise is a promise." The Qallupilluit yelled and screamed and pounded the ice till it broke. They begged and pleaded and asked to have the children, but Alashua said, "A promise is a promise." Then the Qallupilluit jumped down into the sea and took their cracks with them, and the whole ocean of ice became perfectly smooth. And then the mother and father came walking down the long, snowy path to the ocean. They hugged and kissed each one of their children, even Alashua. Their father looked at the flat ocean and said, "We will go fishing here, for Qallupilluit have promised never to catch children with their parents, and a promise is a promise." And then they all did go fishing, quite happily. Except for Alashua. She had been too close to the Qallupilluit, and could still hear them singing, with voices that sounded like blowing snow. A Promise is a Promise, by Michael Kusugak, Robert Munsch, and Vlajana Kirkara.